Another week, another news cycle. Alright, what do I have this week? Xbox breaking down. Nexus Mods makes a statement on removing adult content. And, Sweet Baby Ink working in the Shire. That and more on this week's news roundup for the 7th of July 2025. This week, we're kicking off with one hell of a statement. Laura Fryer, one of the founding members of the Xbox team, spoke about the future of the company and said, "I think Xbox hardware is dead." In her video, she called Xbox Anywhere just marketing and style with no substance. And it does look like that way, considering there's no point in owning an Xbox anymore since a PC can do just as much, if not even more, than an Xbox. And all of the Xbox games are available on Game Pass, which is also available for PC. She further elaborated on her Xbox hardware is dead theory by saying, "The plan appears to be just drive everybody to Game Pass. And let's be clear, it has a lot of value. I'm thinking that might be why they decided to charge $80 for the Outer Worlds too. And here's the thing, maybe it will work." This is the same thing that Grums said almost a month ago, pointing out that Xbox is slowly turning into a rental service rather than a console. Now, if it works or not, Game Pass will impact the future of games that are developed for both Xbox and PC. Now, if it's a good thing or a bad thing, only time will tell. Additionally, the Xbox sales also don't look good, because according to Wikipedia, PlayStation 5 sold 77 million units, while the Xbox Series X and S sold 28.3 million. Heck, the Nintendo 3DS console from 2010, mind you, outsold the Series X and is very close within 75.94 million copies sold. Make of that what you will. Wrapping things up, Laura mentioned the Oblivion remake and how it was a huge success, but asked what is the long-term plan for Xbox, and hopes that next year during the 25th anniversary of Xbox there will be a big announcement. But I doubt there will be any, considering Microsoft still needs to recover from the buying spree that it had somewhat recently. It also doesn't help their case that they are funding games that nobody's willing to play. To be more specific, they have ID at Xbox to get games on Xbox, specifically indie games. And bear in mind, this also has some bangers on it like Sifu, Hollow Knight, Stardew Valley, Palworld, and more. Though one of the games there is Creature Kind, where a group of activists use magic to debate monsters. And to no one's surprise, it has 5 players all-time peak on Steam. Who the hell asked for something like this? I mean, it's all well and good to have a service that helps indie games, but some quality control is needed when publishing them. Also, Xbox cancelled the Perfect Dark game in the works, and there appears to be layoffs. And according to the numbers, it's hitting 4% of their global workforce across all divisions. Some of the staff are receiving the notice on the same day they were fired. Now, before I continue, I need to remind people that in these companies, there are almost always people who are passionate about making games. It sucks that these people were fired, and I hope they find a better place to work at, and quickly. The team that was working on Perfect Dark was put together in 2018, and this year it was shut down. In an email that was sent by Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studio, he confirmed that Everwild's Perfect Dark and other unannounced projects were cancelled. And additionally to all of that, the level designer for the Perfect Dark reboot has responded to claims that the gameplay reveal from 2024 was quote-unquote basically fake. This came from a Kotaku reporter, Ethan Gak. I don't know, that's Klingon, right? Anyways, that's shared on Blue Sky. I mean, Do we need to be surprised that this was shared there? Where his source spoke to him after the Xbox game show in 2044 and said that the trailer was quote-unquote basically fake. When asked to elaborate, Gak said that the gameplay slice shown in the Perfect Dark trailer was, quote, not indicative of the level of progress perceived to have been made on the game. To which the former level designer Adam McDonald's fired off with saying there is a real demo and a series posts. Those posts are wild and I quote, worked best if you played it in the way the person playing the video plays it. Alright, the way I understand this is there's only one way to play the demo. The quote continues, the real gameplay system shown worked just enough to look good in this video. And finally, the parkour is all real. The hacking / depiction is mostly real. The combat is, quote, real, but it's set up to be played exactly that way. Were these guys the interns that worked on Aliens Colonial Marines? Because they took all the wrong lessons from that failure of a game. But don't worry about it. The Mark Zuckerberg fan, aka Matt Turnbull, suggests that the affected workers use AI to quote, reduce emotional and cognitive load that comes with job loss. And no, you didn't magically wake up on the 1st of April. It's still the 7th of July. I had to do a double take here as well. Considering what we know previously, I'm not sure if the guy was just looking forward to the remake of Perfect Dark and was pissed off when he learned what they were doing, or was just happy they would be paying him for AI after he fired him. I mean, some of the AI models actually cost money to use. The free version is a bit limited, so you know, either one or the other, or maybe both, I don't know. Regardless, this absolute beautiful human being, sarcasm, posted about it on LinkedIn, and then the neurons started firing, specifically when he realized that it's a terrible take. Keep in mind, this guy is still keeping his job at Xbox. He wrote, and I quote here, I know these types of tools engineer strong feelings in people, but I'd be remiss to not try to offer the best advice I can under the circumstances. He followed it up with his quote-unquote advice on how to use ChatGPT or any other large language model AI. Yeah, very good advice, man. I'm sure all those people are now gonna move on much faster. Yeah, right. Sticking with Microsoft for this one, Halo is celebrating Disability Pride Month? The what now? I'm not sure what kind of mentalist you have to be to get disapproved on Microsoft's end, but they're dropping the ball hard on this one, Chief. And yet again, history repeats itself, with comments being disabled and retweets being higher than the likes. Some of the retweets are gold though. If you want to read them, go for it. It's mostly just people saying, and I quote, July is America Month, followed by the most American gift one could find. There's also a few more people who actually spoke the truth that disabilities shouldn't be something to be proud of or used as an advertising material. You think that these people are living in the idiocracy timeline? Side note, watch the movie and tell me if Microsoft doesn't resemble something ran by people from that timeline. With this in the first story, Microsoft aren't beating that allegation anytime soon. Moving on, Mecha Break managed to fumble its launch due to the quote-unquote micro transactions. They added presets to their game and you can sell those presets on their auction house. That needs a currency only attainable via purchase. And that's not the only thing there. You can also buy mods and gear for your mech that affects only the extraction shooter mode, effectively making it pay to win. There is even a bundle in the game that gives you a pilot that, for some odd reason, you can't customize. And as far as I'm aware, that makes it pointless, considering the game was praised for the character creation during the closed beta tests. And so aside from that pilot, it also gives you a skin for one of the mechs. Okay. I mean, there's also a premium purchase that you can make where you obtain double the free currency from playing an additional mech. I mean, it's a free-to-play game, but yeah, still doesn't sit right. I mean, it's no surprise, really. I mean, my editor told me, and I quote, "This is the same studio that released the 300 USD skin for their gacha game a while back." Well, I'd have looked a bit more under the hood for Mecha Break before hyping myself. But let's be real, if they sort out the monetization side of the game, and maybe, let's be real, probably not gonna happen, they make it easier to figure out what mech is good versus what type of mech, that will also be good. But ultimately, this has the makings of a good game. If they tune their rewards for casual mode, make the menus more intuitive, have less ads in said menus, and maybe sort out the monetization, that should get you at least a better state for the game instead of being 50-50 or whatever it is at this point in terms of Steam reviews. But anyway, I can dream, can't I? Moving on, Nexus Mods finally spoke about why adult content is being removed, and apparently is due to Online Safety Act and Digital Service Act.
Yay, we love removing barrel-leg mods from our websites and using the law as a defense for it.
Nah, man, you don't get it. Just think of the children, man. They need protection against those pesky shoulders too. Oh, brother. Give me a break, will ya? So, you're also wondering what's changing, right? Well, Nexus sure does, considering that they asked the same question and said, and I quote, "Some of this is still being worked on behind the scenes." Like, for the love of everything you enjoy, first finish this and then start removing mods. If you're gonna remove mods, at least. What they will add is extra tags. Better define the mods uploaded and the ignore feature if you don't wish to see any of those tags. That's fine and all, but they're also adding the ability for mod authors to block specific users. This, if you haven't read your history books, will easily allow people to turn mods into echo chambers, which, well, if you look at them, you only see positive stuff. I mean, just look at Blue Sky. Prime example of an echo chamber. They are also forcing age verification for the UK and EU-based users. And shocking no one, they didn't even elaborate on it any further. This next part is a message to Nexus Mods and its staff. Look, don't be surprised if people stop using your website, cause if the Stellar Blade situation didn't kill it, this might. And I'm not angry about the age verification, I'm angry about how unclear you are. If you want me to verify my age with official documents from my country, you better start breaking things down to the smallest detail. And how I can hold you accountable if you directly or indirectly result in my data leaking. Not just throw out a word salad and call it a win. And I really hope that you have more details in the next monthly roundup, as you claim, since I don't trust you with handling any form of data. Moving on, the gamer had a brain fart and made a title claiming that, and I quote,
Sora doesn't understand love in Kingdom Hearts. It might be because of compulsory heterosexuality.
Yeah. Talk about trying to bait people into reading your articles on a dying site. Their evidence for the claim is drastic, to say the least. They claim a scene in the Pirates of the Caribbean world where Sora says, and I quote, "That's not true. I may still have a lot to learn about love, but I know what it means to share my heart with others." Not to mention that most common fan interpretation is that he has a fully fledged crush on Kyrie. And Journo, barely passing as journalist, but anyway, writes, and I quote,
So why are we now bringing up the fact that Sora doesn't know a lot about love?
"Well, you started it. You wanna know? Alright, you genius with a degree from wish.com. Let's break this down. For starters, he is 15 in Kingdom Hearts 3, which is when the Pirates of the Caribbean happens. Additionally, crushes can develop as early as 11 years old. If you stayed at school, you would have learned that. And if you just stopped thinking before writing your next slop article, you would have put 2 and 2 together. Maybe to realize that, that's a perfectly normal scenario. I mean, you wrote this in your notes section, for crying out loud, and then instantly discarded it, explaining that it's, quote,
serving some sort of narrative purpose.
Further on in the article, they bring Bella and the Beast story into it, where Sora asks him, "What is true love anyways? What even is love to begin with?" Which again, is a perfectly normal thing for a teenager his age to ask. It's not an excuse to write your own story about how you're a closet lesbian or your experience growing up. I mean, if you couldn't ask your parents what true love is growing up, then I don't envy the kind of home you grew up in. They're also bringing up the Powerful Fruit scene. I gave it a watch, and oh boy, the misunderstandings on this one. The gamer points out, Sora asks, "Hey, why is Riku all alone?" And for a little bit of context, Riku is Sora's childhood friend, implying that they have known each other for, what we're looking at, 5-10 years, considering this all set in Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm not entirely sure, since, this is my first delve into the Kingdom Hearts universe, but this to me comes off as someone who is concerned about his friend, really. Then I looked into the meaning of the Powerful Fruit, which, and I quote here, "If two individuals feed it to each other, it represents that, quote, they'll remain a part of each other's life no matter what." Yeah. Anyways, they use Sora's shock as a gotcha card that he is closeted, but in the end, I too would be shocked if a pointy object was suddenly shoved in my face, even for my crush. But anyways, I digress. They mentioned that he looks visibly uncomfortable, where I see it as him becoming more relaxed before the final fight, enjoying a moment with his crush. How did this excuse of a journalist get the impression from that scene? I'll never know. The last parts of the article are pure delusions, and I get that this is supposed to be a funny, quirky theory, but this comes off as just pushing a narrative down people's throats, especially when it smells like a self-insert altogether. In other non-surprising news, Kotaku got sold off and Geo Media is winding down. The people acquiring Kotaku are called Kellops, and they did say their editorial staff will remain on the site and more senior staff will be hired. Probably to make more slop articles as per usual. Clays, the CEO of Kellops, or Kellops, or however you pronounce it, I don't know, also said something that I find hilarious, and I quote, "Kotaku isn't just a brand, it's a home for gamers and a place where the culture keeps moving forward. Chief, I think you missed the memo of actual gamers making fun of Kotaku for the past few years." Well, if you truly believe that, then you've been gaslit to a degree, but If you wanted to make it a place for gamers, you shouldn't have kept the staff in there and replaced them with actual people that don't just write slop. Spanfeller, the CEO of Geo Media, also announced that it's been working towards winding down operations with the following message. Geo Media is predominantly owned by growth equity firm Great Hill Partners. Given how both private equity and growth equity work, it became clear to our investors that it's time to move on. I mean, I'm shocked it took you this long, but I don't feel like repeating myself. The investors could have backed off because of the defamation lawsuit started by Bobby Kotick, but that's just me speculating, really. I mean, Kotaku literally took the piss out of him. At the end of the day, don't like both of them. So, I'll be right here sitting comfortably in my chair with a bucket of popcorn. Have at it, boys! Moving on, something that caught my fancy. GameIndustry.biz made an article talking about how year over year the spending on video games has declined by almost 25% among the 18 to 24 year olds. The statement was from Wall Street Journal, which suggested that spending for the age group decreased. As for the other age groups, it's a smaller percentage, but still decreased. At the end of it, it was mentioned that the data collected emerged amid a time of rising hardware and software prices, and gave examples like The Outer Wilds 2 and Mario Kart World both being $80. I don't think that's the only reason, mate. Remember, there were releases like DEI the Fail Guard that cost $70, Assassin's Creed Shadows, or George Floyd Simulator, whatever you want to call it, that also had the $70 price tag, and, well, most of the gamers didn't like them because of the forced political narrative. I wonder why it's decreasing. Moving on, Ninja Gaiden 4 director thinks that games are trending towards being easier to play and promised Team Ninja's sequel to go in the opposite direction. The director, Yuji Nakao, pointed out how it's activation by the players who lead the game to respond with spike in difficulty, and playfully explained, and I quote, "When Platinum Games speaks to Team Ninja about this next Ninja Gaiden, we often joke that we've made something that really doesn't feel like a modern game. It's just too hard. These days, games are trending towards being easier to play, but Ninja Gaiden 4 goes in the complete opposite direction, so don't lose heart." The Mad Lad also stated that, and I quote, "I really feel like Ninja Gaiden 4 has turned out to be the kind of game that could strike a chord with those fans of the genre if it could carve out its place in the history of modern slash action and as a new benchmark for the genre. I'd be thrilled if Ninja Gaiden 4 could serve as a spark that reignites excitement around slash action games, then that would be even better. I mean, just make sure the PC port doesn't suck ass and you're already halfway there, my man." Moving on, Ready or Not got censored years after its release because of its console launch, removing gore and nudity. In their Steam update, they said, and I quote, "Player-induced dismemberment still has a large presence in the game, but is a little more limited as to when it occurs. When alive enemies are shot, they can undergo dismemberment. However, once they're dead, no further dismemberment occurs. Gore dismemberment effects are still gruesome to communicate the dismal reality of deadly force, yet somewhat less gratuitous to it, or extreme. Ultimately, we consider this an okay compromise considering our gameplay design already dissuades use of lethal force anyways." This statement is nonsense, like you're already killing people. I mean, in the game that is, Jesus Christ. This isn't a new release either. The game has been out on Steam for almost 3 years already? Yeah, give or take. This censorship could have only been done on a console side of things, wanting this censorship. But hey, apparently it's too hard to critically think in this day and age. I mean, as I've been saying, common sense is not so common. This whole situation reeks of the whole Skullgirls controversy, but I mean, that's another kind of worms I'm not about to get into. Anyway, I digress. One developer responded to a user asking if the censorship is for Kotaku, and the genius replied with, "Unless Kotaku is code phrase for certification board, regional publishing country, etc., then no. The changes are happening because Ready or Not would not be certified for console release without making the required changes, and having two different builds isn't feasible for workload or crossplay." And if you guys didn't pick up on the writing, I'll translate it for you. We are too lazy to put in the extra effort in order to not trigger our current player base. Yeah, let's see how that plays out, Chief. I mean, they could have stood their ground and pointed out that Call of Duty and the Witcher series have those things that they needed to censor, but no, instead they just bent the knee and forced us, the consumers, to have a product we didn't want. It also shows that people didn't want this change, because if you look at the word refund, you will see there are over 2,000 entries found. This shows that people want their refund, and looking at the reviews too, the recent reviews are mostly negative, with the 3rd of July reaching 2,562 negative reviews. Yeah, not working out great now, is it? The devs later on posted a TLDR because they claim there is misinformation circulating around the scope of the changes. Sure, there could be misinformation, but the problem that a lot of people have is the fact that they brought the game before these changes were made. These changes were needed to be made for any PC releases. They were made for the console release. And as we stated before, they just didn't want to put the effort into releasing two different versions. Sure, they did provide the 6 targeted visual changes that were made, and it's good that they are transparent for now, at least. But that doesn't change the fact that they put their own profits first instead of their customers who support them. And when you look at games in general, it's the customer that actually gets you the profit. Moving on, Anthem servers are shutting down, and the game will not be playable after the 12th of July 2026. And before you get your hopes up, there will be no refunds. This might be an attempt at EA to avoid the EU initiative Stop Killing Games that's been picking up steam recently, and save a few bucks on a dying game. But that's all just speculation. And before you comment, yes, I am aware the petition got the 1 million signatures that it needs, but that doesn't mean it's gonna take effect as of recording. This needs to go through a few more checks and instances before it gets in the hands of EU legislators. And even that, well, I mean, it's gonna take some time before they even vote on it. First, they're gonna need to see what is there, well, you know what, I'm just gonna put Ross's video in the sources. Go and watch that. He does a far better job than me in terms of going over what's going on with the petition. Side note, I hope this thing passes. This is gonna be a major win for gamers in the long run. Moving on, Randy Pitchford once again is in the spotlight, this time the reason being a post on X. What post, you wonder? Well, he posted a tweet on his X account saying, "Sales like this and Borderlands 3 showing up on console subscription programs took over 5 years for the game's launch to happen. Take advantage when it's here and set expectations. It'll be longer before this kind of thing happens in the next cycle with Borderlands 4. Yep, you heard that right. 5 years since the game released, one controversy after another, and now he has his third hit by saying Borderlands 4 will take longer to have the same deals. Oh, brother, this guy just can't shut up, can he? Remember, almost a month ago he said that it's not his call about the pricing of the game. However, now he can predict when Borderlands 4 will be discounted. Alcon pointed this out in his tweet and said, "I swear he's absolutely terrible at marketing. Why did this need to be said like this? Also, I thought you didn't have a say in pricing." To which the genius replied with,
I am not marketing, I'm trying to be helpful. I don't set up pricing and did not even know about this sale before it was announced. However, I do know a lot about the macro game industry and business, and I have seen our games through many cycles over many years. Cheers!
yeah, he's being real helpful here. Helpful by showing us he really shouldn't be listened to and have his words taken with a mountain of salt. But I don't think there are enough salt mines in the world to cover the amount of salt needed. Moving on, Mindseye boss claims that there were internal and external saboteurs that are to blame for the studio's woes. Yep, in his little fancy world, everyone else is the problem, but not his decisions. Talk about dodging accountability. This guy's evasion rate is set to 100 permanently. Menzies addressed the staff according to IGN, where the studio boss blamed internal and external saboteurs, with the issue facing both Mindseye and Bill the Rocket Boy. His comments also came around when 300 staff members reported to have received emails notifying them that they are at risk of losing their jobs. The same email was sent to some staff members from PlayFusion, a studio they acquired in 2024. The studio said it was quote-unquote heartbroken during an apology released last month, and saying that it was, quote,
fully committed to ensure our players have a great experience.
Man, if only enthusiasm gave you money and manpower to actually make a good game, these guys would have been swimming in money. In other news, Capcom finally released the Monster Hunter Wilds performance patch, and everything went to shit. The update, which compiles the shaders at the initial launch instead of during gameplay, which in hindsight is an, well, very easy fix. But somewhere along the lines, this update managed to break the game even more to where all the reviews are at mixed. And recent reviews are overwhelmingly negative on Steam. Yeah, you can see that they had to fix a bug that caused the game to crash when opening equipment appearances for both the Hunter and the Palico. There was also unstable frame rate when equipping a ranged weapon on the PC version, and there is even another performance patch fixing multiple bugs planned next week. Jesus, release it right now. You know what? I'm not even gonna question it. Let's put a pin into all of this because I'm about to say something stupid. But don't worry, somebody else is gonna fill that quota in a bit. Specifically Eurogamer, where they tried pushing the narrative that everything is rosy and sunshine, when with the title of the article just having a small paragraph saying, had an increased rate of crashes and visual bugs. Yeah, let's call a spade and say it had a bad PC port, and Crapcom somehow made it worse. Can't believe I'm pulling Crapcom out. We're talking Street Fighter 4 PC release days. But anyway, I digress. And lastly, DEI is showing how unpopular it is. I know, shocker. Starting with the interview by Brown Girl Gamers with Kishona Gray. I mean, I don't care if I pronounced it right or not at this point. Quote-unquote experts in DEI. who demanded representation in gaming, and after a month of the tweet being made, they admitted to not even playing the game, despite being a huge fan of the genre. Surprised? But wait, there's more. Not only did they refuse to also show up for the thing they claim to like, but they've been a grifter for a while and offered thoughts on Gamergate 2, which she claims that there was harassment, even though the majority of the harassment came from her and, as Madam Savvy put it, band of losers, which I believe fits perfectly. There's also more, but if you want to check it out, links in the source. I'm not even gonna bother quoting the game. On top of that, Master of the TDS posted that Tales of the Shire is consulted by Sweet Baby Inc. It showed that Cameron Wilds worked on Tales of the Shire from their LinkedIn page. Since it also says writing as well, we can easily assume Cameron had some sort of interaction with any potential story in the game. If you do want to avoid DI-infested games, check out the Sweet Baby Inc. Detected group over on Steam. That can sometimes be a godsend. And that's all for me for this week's news roundup. Like it if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, comment or don't, and I'll see you next time.